Hey, so today I wanted to do a kind of special video. It's not particularly about my transition in the day-to-day sense, but it is about how I knew I was transgender and kind of my transition as a whole. I really lucked out when it came to figuring out what the fuck was going on, in that I had a very clear-cut case of the trans. I heard from my therapist, who I see for like trans stuff, that a lot of trans people don't necessarily know like as quickly or as easily that what's going on with them was that they're transgender, that they just feel like something's off or something's wrong. And I can identify with that in a lot of ways, because that's kind of how I felt with my sexual orientation. That it felt really weird and I just felt kind of out of place until I realized, like, oh, queer, I'm queer, that's the thing, that's the weird thing, got it. And so I can understand that, like, if you don't have any other queerness, then you might not understand why or where. But even then, being queer didn't help me figure out that I was trans. I knew I was a boy decades before I knew I was trans. I did not come to terms with being transgender for 27 years, I would say. Even after I came out, I did not come out to myself. But I did always know I was a boy. Always. Preschool is the earliest that I can remember telling people I was a boy. And I was just confused. That was there's sad for being excluded from stuff, sad from not getting to play with the toys that I wanted to because everyone was trying to push their gender shit on me. In the 90s it was a lot worse than it is now. A lot worse. Oh god, it was bad. You'd think it was the 50s sometimes when you look back. Yeah, just sadness because I never got to play the red Power Ranger. I always had to play the pink one, even when I was playing with my guy friends, who I thought and felt like accepted me. Like, you know, my little 4 or 5-year-old brain felt like, because they were my friends, those guys know that I'm actually a guy. But yeah, I was mostly just confusion. I didn't understand what marked me, and only me, seemingly only me, as the only boy that no one believed was a boy. I mean, I was aware of penises and such, because I had a younger brother. And I was aware that mine hadn't grown in yet, because I had eyes. But I was certain that I was going to. And it wasn't like every other boy was walking around with their pants down so we could see that they had a penis and they were in fact a boy. And it wasn't like I was walking around with my pants down so you could see that I didn't have a penis and wasn't in fact a boy and shouldn't be believed. I just didn't understand. I was just really confused. I was so confused. I didn't get why I was just the one boy who was singled out for not being believed. No one ever really sat me down and explained to me, listen, you're not a boy and you gotta stop saying that shit. Yeah, no one did that. You'd think with just how bad I just said the 90s were, it's almost like it was so bad that no one even knew that transgender was a thing, so no one even knew to tell me to not do it. When I hit 10 years old, I hit puberty really young, and with my breasts coming in, I started to realize my penis wasn't going to, and then also, like, I don't know, noticing, like, guys and girls I like and stuff, and just kind of puberty stuff, made me realize that I needed to stop saying that I was a guy. So about age 10, I got closeted. Really closeted. And I did that thing that some transgender people do. Not all of them. I do want to put an asterisk on this story and say that this is just one trans person story and that all of them are different. And not just a little different, but, like, really different. So if you're trans and you're trying to figure out if you're trans by, like, watching this and see if your story is like mine, don't do that. You could be totally different than me and still be trans, or vice versa. So yeah. But yeah, so one thing that some trans people do, and I did, was I tried to be cis really hard. I just thought, maybe I'm just a woman and I'm bad at it and I should just try harder. And if I try harder, then I'll learn to like it. and everything will be fixed. I had the hypothesis that maybe I'm just a lesbian, and this is just internalized homophobia on my part that's telling me I'm a guy, because that's the only way that it's okay to like women. I thought it doesn't fucking matter what it is that's going on with me. I'm a guy, but every time I think about it, there's nothing I can do about it. It just makes me sad, so I should just never think about it ever again and take this stupid secret to my grave. And that was kind of the thing that I settled on for like 15 years. And yeah, that was what I did. I wore corsets. I didn't wear high heels. I didn't do that. I wore corsets, but I wore tons of makeup. Dancing and just all kinds of girly shit. I was so girly. I was so girly. You can even see now, I mean, I have them filled in, but I'm really worried they're not going to come back. I plucked my eyebrows to all shit, and I don't know they're going to come back, and it sucks. But that's what you do when you're trying to convince yourself that you, too, could be cis. But you can't. 2 years after I came out to everyone else, I was in this room crying my eyes out because I realized that, oh dear God, I'm transgender. This was a couple months ago. I knew I was a boy 23 years now, at least. And I only just realized that that means that I'm transgender a couple months ago, and I'm 27. I realized, I thought that if I just didn't transition, if I just behaved and did everything right and played my gender roles like I was fucking supposed to, then I wouldn't be transgender, that I could be cisgender too, that I could be not queer, and I could be everything that I was supposed to be. But I realized it's not true. It doesn't matter. It's exactly like sexual orientation, and there is nothing I can do about it. I can be gay, and I can choose to not sleep with men, and I can be gay, and I can choose to act on that. But either way, I'm still gay. Like, there's nothing I can do about that fact. And I can like that fact, or I can hate that fact, or I can be ambivalent about that fact, but there's nothing I can do about that fact. And it's exactly the same way about being trans, and that hit me like a freight train. That I could transition, and I'd be trans. But if I don't transition, I am still transgender, and that was hard. When I had that realization, excuse me, I'm just gonna rub my eye all awkwardly. When I had that realization, I decided I was gonna transition. Because fuck it, what does it matter then? I'm doing all this shit and suffering so much being a woman just so I won't be transgender, and then I realized, oh fuck, I've been trans this entire goddamn time. Fuck. I'm gonna be trans no matter what I do. May as well be happy while I'm trans. So here we are. I talked to a therapist, and then I talked to my doctor, and then she sent me to an endocrinologist, and he sent me back to my therapist, and then she sent me back to the endocrinologist, and he sent me to the pharmacy, and then I got testosterone. And I'm on day 16. Today. Day 16. And yeah, my phone's gonna give out and die anytime soon, so I should put an end to this, and yeah. That's pretty much the really condensed, shortened version of my coming out story. I would love to hear all y'all's. And yeah, tell me about it. Because spreading information is great. As always, comment that shit down there. Subscribe that to me down there. Check out all my social media links. And yeah, thanks for watching. Check out them.